I'm Kahja Elliott, and I'm a food enthusiast. Bronx born and raised, ATL made, Bay Area becoming. And I talk to people about how they create community through food in the Bay and beyond. Welcome to the As Told By podcast. Welcome back to a new episode of the As Told By podcast. I am on location today in Westchester County, more specifically Harrison, New York. If you've been keeping up with my social media, I just got back earlier today from Martha's Vineyard and will be bay-bound in the next 24 hours so I can get back home and sit down for a moment. But while I was here, I looked forward to taking the opportunity to interviewing someone who some of y'all listening know and love, but the rest of y'all are about to get to know. So let me intro her. With years of a career of hands-on technical leadership across industries, combined with community service for 30 plus years as a member of Delta Sigma Theta, including holding both regional and state roles, she's now the founder of Stronger Systems Group, an organization teaching leaders how to harness the power of AI and intelligent systems. But even with all of her illustrious accomplishments, I know her as my best friend of 45 years. Welcome, Randi Gray, to the As Told By podcast.
Hello.
Hey, girl.
I'm excited to be here. Hey, girl. Hey.
Isn't this fun?
This is fun. This is going to be fun.
This is going to be fun. Now, I read the bio, and so I know you may be like, okay, well, what does this have to do with food? So this is one of these episodes where, like, this person is not in the food industry, but she has certainly had, to me, what is the biggest front row seat to not just K in the Bay, as y'all know it, but all the things that led up to K in the Bay. Like, how did we get here? And so I thought she would have a really interesting perspective to share on K in the Bay as it exists and is known today.
Very true. I'm excited to share.
Okay. All right. So look, let's start with our history. I did say we've been friends for over 45 years, which is quite a long time. Mm-hmm. It's the longest relationship in my life. Really, that's not a lie. But we grew up together in the northeast section of the Bronx. We met, I was in second grade, mm-hmm. and you were in third. Yes. Is that right?
Yes, I was in third grade.
Okay. And I met her lying, actually. Look, share the lie that sure. I came out the gate with.
So the first day I met Kahja will always be memorable because she was just the new girl outside in the back of the building, which is where we typically played. And at the end of a very long day of playing and thinking that we were getting to know her, her older sister comes outside and says, Kahja, let's go. It's time to go. And all of us whipped our necks around and said, Kahja? Who's Kahja? Because Kahja told us that her name was Tanya. And so we played with Tanya all day, very hard, just like little kids in the back of a building. And lo and behold, her name was Kahja. And when we asked her, well, where did Tanya come from? She said, well, I thought that you all would think that Kahja was a weird name, but now we just think you're weird. But we grew to love her anyway. But our first encounter with her was one that kind of set off who we learned her to be for the rest of our lives.
So look, shout out to all the people out there with, very ethnic names before that was a popular thing. It was like, I just want the name that's on a keychain. Tanya was a good fit.
Exactly. And as a person who grew up with a name that, while it is unisex, if you're growing up in the 80s in the Bronx, Randi is not a popular name. I fully understand wanting to see your name on the keychain and not with a Y at the end.
Yes.
So I understand.
Okay. All right. So you got it. Yeah, she forgave the faux pas. All right. So look, let's move to the signature question of the podcast. And I feel like I have my own answer to this, which I will share a little bit more about, but I'm curious in hearing it from your perspective. What kind of food family do you come from?
Wow. What kind of food? When you say that, you mean like how did my family embrace food?
Yeah, like what was the culture? How did your family embrace food? What was that like for you growing up within your household?
Food was definitely always celebratory. There was never a shortage of it. I will say that. If something was not being prepared by my mother, I grew up in a single parent household. So if something wasn't being prepared by my mother, we were certainly getting some form of takeout, be it Chinese food, or at that time, honestly, it was probably either Chinese food or fast food. But definitely on holidays, there was always some big meal prepared. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, for sure. And to be honest, every Sunday, I feel like my mother went the extra mile to make something a little bit more hearty. So like Cornish hens and, all the fixings, or spare ribs and all the fixings. So much so, there are things that as an adult, I really don't care for, because I feel like I ate it a lot.
Oh, like what?
Macaroni and cheese. So I know
you don't eat mac and cheese.
I don't love mac and cheese, no. And I know a lot of our people say, "Oh, I'm taking your black card."
I was about to say the exact same thing.
I don't love mac and cheese for that reason. Bev made it a lot.
Yeah.
With us growing up. So I think, again, we were a culture of food was definitely an important part of a celebration. And so we always were going to have that.
You know what? Listening to you say that, and I think it's interesting, your perspective, but then the perspective of someone who spent a lot of time in your house growing up. So your family lived on a certain floor. My family lived on a certain floor. So we would be back and forth between each other's apartments all the time.
Yes.
And I would be so intentional about coming to your house when I really have been this person all my life. Yeah. There always was just like something to me that was so interesting about seeing how other people experience food in their house. I didn't know it that way at the time. I didn't have the language for it at that time. But looking back, that's exactly what it was. And I would come around your house around meal times because there were things that were served in your house that weren't served in mine. But not just that, I would be like I felt like I was part of the food system of your house because, latchkey kids, it's the 80s or even very early 90s. And, mother is at work and you would get the call, go to Top Tomato. If you're from the Bronx, go to Top Tomato and or Top Meat, which was across the street from Top Tomato, and get fill in the blank, whatever it was. Yes. And so from where we live, from our building, the walk to Top Tomato or Top Meat was probably like 30 minutes. And so we would go walking together. And so, look, I'm invested. I would walk the 30 minutes one way and another 30 back to get the food. And so now that y'all cooking it up, here I come. Knock, 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 knock.
And you know what? You probably were just a part of it. I think that for the most part, because growing up, it was just myself, my mother, and my sister. And then, there were years that other family lived with us, but it was like family style, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're there, you can eat. It was, it's just a shared thing. We didn't do a lot of the put your name on your food. I don't know if it's because we didn't have a lot or not, but it was, so that makes total sense. You were there. And, for a large part of our high school years, I was preparing the meals, which was strange, which is why as an adult, I tell people, oh, I can cook. I just don't. Because I put in, I put in my fair share of years of cooking through like the end of middle school, well into high school. So I'm good.
Yeah. She's like, I'm good. But y'all would always have things that we wouldn't have in my house. Like, first of all, y'all would always have soda. And we didn't have soda, but it was a staple. Y'all always had Pepsi.
Good? Was that? You are absolutely right. But was that good?
Listen, it was good when you didn't have it in your house. You always have Pepsi in your house, and then you would make meals. Like, here were some of my favorites: pepper steak. We wasn't making pepper steak at my house. Pepper steak and rice.
Something that I don't eat.
You don't?
Absolutely not.
Because you had plenty. That's what it is.
I do not like pepper steak.
Spaghetti.
Right, spaghetti I still love. Yes.
Spaghetti. Fried chicken wings. That was another one. I do remember the mac and cheese down to, I remember the receptacle that y'all would make it in. Like,
which one?
It was like a almost like an oval shaped glass pan
for the mac and cheese.
For the mac and cheese.
Okay. Yes. I can. Yes.
I remember that so clearly.
Yeah.
Yes. So that was a little bit about like food family and how you were eating in the house. But as kids during this kind of 80s, 90s era, we spent so much time outside that a lot of our eating and those early food experiences would take place on the way to school or coming home from school or moving around, you know, the 5 boroughs, you know, during summer and being here, there, and everywhere. So you have the bodega, right? So Heroes, you have all the snacks that they serve in the bodega. You got the pizza shop that we were eating at.
Right.
And then you have like those little neighborhood restaurants. Some of them were like special treat. KFC was up the block. The Orient, which was a little bit at the time an upscale. Looking back, wasn't nothing upscale about it. But at the time, it was like, oh, we went to the Orient. And they would have those really good chicken wings with oyster sauce on them, right? That place is long gone now. I don't even know what it is now. But what in your mind is some of those things as we grew up around the Bronx that you remember as foods like we looked forward to, or that we were somehow unintentionally building community over?
You know what? It's funny because when I think about how we ate as teens, part of me is like, they were definitely staples, but part of me is like, did we eat like that because of lack of certain funds? So we ate what we can afford. It was great. It was great, and it really set a foundation for what we like to eat and how we like to eat. But like, for example, I don't know if you remember, we would always go get Otis Spunkmeyer cookies, the 3 for $1 in the red little slip paper from the Patty store. And the Patty store wasn't there our entire childhood. It was there. It got there like when we were in high school. But we always went and got like a patty and cocoa bread and then Otis Spunkmeyer cookies. If we were going to Gun Hill for any reason to the Valley, we were going to go to Nick's Pizza and get a slice, sometimes with extra cheese. I wasn't a big pepperoni person, still not, but definitely like sausage. That I was like a big slice with sausage person. Oh my gosh, Chicken Littles from KFC.
Ooh.
Things that I'm like, do they even still make that? Because
they tried to bring it back, but it wasn't the same.
Okay, you would be hard pressed to find me a Chicken Littles. I'm almost ashamed but amused to admit that when McDonald's had the McRib, I was definitely going to get one. That
used to be
when it was out. Yes, for sure. That and you know what else? It's crazy. I shouldn't tell you this because Kay in the Bay, this is such a low quality of food. But you know, I don't like pancakes. So fun fact, I don't eat pancakes. I don't like pancakes. There's nothing wrong with them. Just ate them a lot growing up, like mac and cheese, and I just don't like pancakes. However, I will eat McDonald's pancakes. I will eat hotcakes.
I like McDonald's pancakes.
I love McDonald's pancakes, but I was also big on that. I'm trying to think. I wasn't a big White Castle because I'm thinking of what was on the street that we grew up on or in our neighborhood. I wasn't a big White Castle person. You were.
I still am.
Yeah, girl, stop.
I just was in Detroit recently and pulled up on a White Castle.
I was in the airport the other day and saw a White Castle vending thing.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's JFK I was in. I was either in JFK or Logan in Boston. I can't remember if I was coming or going, but I just saw a White Castle vending machine. I didn't even look to see who was in it because I didn't want to know. I just chuckled to myself and was like, "This, nothing about this is good."
Y'all still selling this?
Right. But just thinking, again, the Orient, I feel like it wasn't a lot that we had, but what we had, they just really became foundational. I can tell you this too, definitely Heroes, because we lived across the street from a bodega that was an easy thing to get for class trips if we were hungry, getting a club sandwich. And we grew up calling it a club sandwich. And I don't know why. It was just the shorter version of a Hero. But I will tell you something that was always funny. Because we grew up around the corner from the Orient, that's the Chinese food we knew and we were used to. But when we would go in other Bronx neighborhoods, they had the regular Chinese restaurants with fried chicken wings and French fries. And that was exciting to us. And so sometimes we would take that extra walk to 233rd to the plaza.
Yes.
And get fried chicken and French fries. So I hope I answered your question.
You did.
All the things.
And you took me there with the Chinese food order. I remember it, because it's still my order today. So I'm not in New York long enough to have that experience. But if I am there long enough, it's chicken wings, fried hard. Of course, I'm black. Pork fried rice with extra bean sprout and egg. It is the Chinese iced tea that comes in a little plastic bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an egg roll, fried hard. That's my order.
I can't.
Extra duck sauce. And I like to get my chicken wings like when they're hot and you put the ketchup on them and then they close the lid because it kind of steams with the ketchup. It's good hood eating. And, you know, probably not like that anymore today. But if the Chinese place had like the bulletproof Lazy Susan that they would put your food in and spin, you just knew it was going to be extra
so
good.
It's funny, fun fact, and I'm pretty sure your audience doesn't know this. There was a period in our lives when Kahja would order from this Chinese restaurant called Best. It was called Best Chinese Food. It was like it was walking distance, but it was kind of like around the corner and down the street from our house. But when she would call, they knew her apartment. They knew her voice. And she would call and make the order and they would go, 9C.
They would.
They would. They knew that it was her ordering the food. And so that was always funny to me. So that kind of just tells you we were, you know, regulars in the things that we ate because we ate what we had access to. And those are some of the things we had access to regularly.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned back in those days, and we both came from single mother households, the limitations of money, right? And like just getting what you can get. And we even talked this weekend, I forget how it came up, but like the way we shop now for our families, we just go to the store, we get, you know, what we need. But it was very much, you know, buying just what you need. So versus, you know how you go to the deli counter in the supermarket today and you're like, let me get a pound of this and whatever. It would be get $2 worth of American cheese, get $3 worth of ham. Sometimes we would buy, I know my mother would, like, you, instead of buying a pack of toilet paper, like you would get two, they would break the pack and you would get 2 rolls or 1 roll, or they would break the pack of butter and you get 1 stick out of, you know, it's just like looking back, you have a family, you know, yes, we need things, but we're going to get just enough so that we have what we need.
But you know, too, until we discussed it this weekend, it just hit me that in the bodega, they sell the rolls loose as opposed to in the supermarket where it is not like that. It never even dawned on me until we discussed it. Like, okay, yeah.
But this is why the bodega is such a community staple because they know who they're working with. And so, you know, they are working to meet the needs of the community. Now, I don't know if it's still like that, but like we knew the people in the bodega's name. They knew our name. You know, it was what it was.
Right.
Okay. Well, you know, as we got older with teens, you know, we're working summer youth jobs and, you know, we just have a little bit more access around the city. And for me, that was when you and I would be in a lot of different places, and different places would bring, you know, variations of a food experience because now you're eating outside of your house. There's so many times we ended up out in Queens somewhere or, you know, out in Brooklyn. But I will tell you, you know, just with New York City, the boroughs are so different, have very different personalities, you know, Caribbean food, Puerto Rican food, you know, all the things that are around. Is there a certain place growing up that you remember that was like outside of our block, anything that we would access on a regular basis? Is there anything you can think of that was like, damn, that was a favorite spot of mine?
Flame. You don't remember Flame in Columbus Circle, 59th Street?
Yes.
The Flame. You knew I was going to say the Flame.
I remember the Flame.
The Flame. And it's so funny because, you know, I guess Northeast Bronx is synonymous with I-95, and we grew up near diners. A lot of people don't have diners near their house, but we grew up near quite a few. And so it's not like we weren't exposed to eating at a diner, which is a whole nother funny conversation about us going to the diner on Friday nights and Saturday nights. But the Flame was basically a diner. It just happened to be at 59th and Columbus Circle. And one of the first jobs that we had together, we thought we were, you know, high living. Because at lunchtime,
we were high living.
We were going to the Flame instead of going to whatever other little penny any spot they had down there. We took our behinds to the Flame and would sit down and have lunch. So yes,
we did. Wow. Yeah, we were working. We had a summer youth job. My sister hooked us up with that job at the Caribbean Cultural Center. I wonder, does that place still exist? But the Flame, it was a diner, and it was right at the corner of where the job was. And so, yes, we spent a lot of time going in there to eat.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, and I would say just us leaving our neighborhood, like you said, really did expose us to like Spanish food, and Caribbean food. Granted, we had the patty spot, but it was a little bit different when you went outside of when you left Baychester Avenue.
Yeah.
Essentially. But yeah, definitely the Flame. That one was funny.
You know, for me, it was, I don't know why this was always such like a big deal for me, because it was cheap, and it's still cheap. Not nearly as cheap as it used to be. I used to love going to Papaya. Gray's Papaya.
Oh, I have another one for you when you're done.
Listen, it was the recession special, $1.50. You would get 2 hot dogs and you would get a papaya drink. Was almost like a smoothie. You know, it was a fruit-based drink. And, you know, you could do the spicy brown mustard. I would always like mix it up. I would do 1 hot dog with spicy brown mustard and sauerkraut. And I would do the other one with ketchup and those onions. That's like the onions in that tomato sauce that's synonymous with New York. And it would be $1.50 to get that, you know, made popular in Jay-Z's song, All You Get Is 50 Cent Franks and Papaya. But that's a New York staple.
That's a staple.
And so we will be in the city because it, you know, it was in Manhattan. They have a couple different locations. I always think of the one on 72nd Street. But
I have 2 more for you. Okay, I have 3. My gosh. Okay, Gorman's Franks on Fordham
Road. Yes.
That was good. Also, do you remember when we would go to Brooklyn with my mother, and it was the Chinese spot that sold the boneless chicken sandwiches. Yes. And then BBQs, of course, which is definitely a New York staple.
I just saw BBQs the other day. I was in a cab going from Grand Central to meet a friend for dinner in Lower Manhattan, and we, sure enough,
you went through Times Square.
We went through Times Square, and there was Dallas BBQ, and I was like, yeah, these are all the places, because Dallas BBQs was like occasion food. So let's speak to that, right? Because yes, there's all the ad hoc, you know, street living, get it how you live dining, but then there was occasion dining. So it's a graduation, you know, family is in town, or, you know, some accomplishment, you made the honor roll or something. And so BBQs definitely on that. Red Lobster was absolutely on that list. Next is Sammy's Fish Box in City Island.
Oh,
all of City Island was special occasion dining. Yeah.
But Sammy's was, you was something. Dude, I don't know if you remember, we went there the night I graduated from high school.
I bet we did.
Yeah, we did. We went to Sammy's.
I bet we did. And I bet you they still got that tray of pickled vegetables and that round loaf of bread with the triangle of cheese and the knife stuck. I could see it as clear as day.
They do, but not because I've been there recently. Like I have, but I can't remember when. I can tell you somewhere within the last 10 years. I just can't remember who I was with, when I went, but I know for a fact because I laughed thinking about you loving Sammy's when we were kids.
I loved it.
Yes.
And you know, still on City Island, but not quite as big of a production. This was a little more casual, was Johnny's Reef. So if you drove all the way out to the end of City Island where there was nothing, you know, you could only go further if you was going to jump into Long Island Sound. But you drove to the end, and Johnny's Reef was what I call a fry house. You know, they would make all kind of fried seafood. And it was one of the few places in the Bronx that made soft shell crabs. And that was the first place I ever had them. And you could get a frozen pina colada, and you could sit outside at these tables, and the gulls would be flying. That was occasion dining.
Yes. I forgot you loved Johnny's Reef.
I still do.
Yeah.
Still do.
I haven't been there in forever, but it is still there.
Of course. Yes, and Tony's is right across the street.
Yes, but I think something happened with Tony's. I think
burned down.
It burned, but it's reopened.
Yeah,
it definitely reopened.
They built it back. I don't know why I was following that news from wherever I was living at the time, but I was like, Tony's burned down, and they did build it back. So now you can see how, you know, the foundation has been laid for many years, even when I really did not realize that it was happening. So I'm always interested for people who've known me early on, like now, K in the Bay, the podcast, all these things that fall in the food media space that I'm doing. Like, from your perspective, what does this look like to you?
Oh, I
Like,
knew
what
this was going to happen because when we were 11, we were young. And I remember, so two things. I don't remember if it was the same day, but you were very crafty at creating things based on what was in your fridge. And if there was something in there and you were hungry, you were going to whip something up. And I remember one time you made this like pasta salad and it was really good. I don't even know where you got the dressing from, but it was really good. That's one thing that always sticks in my mind. But the number one reason why I'm like, none of this, when friends or, people ask me about you and your business, I said, oh no, I completely saw this because when we were kids, one time you were like, you know what? I would just want to be a food taste tester and just go around and taste food. And it was just like a blanket sentence that
Words,
you said.
son.
And I, me, I was always just laughing at you because you were hilarious and still are. And I was like, okay. And it's just something that you said. It went in one ear and out the other. And here we are years later, K in the Bay.
Yeah, it's I guess sometimes people that saying you take the long road home, right? Because these are things I would be watching Sesame Street and they would be doing the segment where they're in a production factory and you see the food come down the conveyor belt and you get to see the back end of how things are made and being in people's house. Even one of our other friends who they would buy a lot of things from like Sam's Club and Costco before those were really things that were a part of people's lives, at least where we were. And so it was always something that was of interest to me, even in my own house, because my mom was, looking back, she was ahead of the curve on certain things. I remember the first time she brought ground turkey in the house.
I remember that. And you and your brother ran into the sink and washed the meat off.
That was my brother that did that. She made spaghetti with ground turkey. And this was before ground turkey was a thing, and certainly in Black households. And we're eating and you can detect something with the taste is different. And he actually went and put a spoonful of the sauce with the meat in a strainer and ran water over it. It was like, this ain't ungrateful ass kids. This ain't ground beef.
I remember that.
And we didn't want it. Like we fought so much against it, but my mother would be making things that were outside of the norm. She used to make this dish where it was hot dogs and she would split them down the middle and put a dill pickle on the inside. She would wrap them with a strip of bacon and put toothpicks and then broil them. I'm like, who was doing that?
Right. So this came from someplace, clearly.
It did. It did. And, for a period of time, my mom dated a man who was Italian. He lived with us for a couple of years and he brought all that food culture. He would be making ravioli. He would be making fresh soups and ditalini pasta shape. I'm like, the hell is this? All the Italian cookies. He would be bringing that culture into the house. So I feel like those are all things that informed my perspective. And then my mom was like intermittently big into diet culture.
Yes.
So I remember like the Dick Gregory Bahamian diet was in the house. The cabbage soup, the Master Cleanse with the lemonade and the cayenne pepper. All those things was like coming through the house at some point. So I felt like it gave me an eclectic perspective.
Yes, I would 100% agree. Yes.
Yeah. So you talked about not, you cooked a lot in your early years. You don't cook now, right? Which is the truth. Rand does not be cooking. But luckily for you, you married a man who not only is a really good cook, but he loves to be creative and explorative in the kitchen. But what I really love watching y'all's relationship is that there's no predetermined rules of, well, you're the wife or I'm working, you're working. It's just like who likes it and who's good at it and really wants to be doing it. We're sitting down here. I'm like 50 minutes off a meal. He just finished
from
making
appetizer to dessert.
Absolutely. Shout out to Cal, producer and host of the Gray Area podcast. But talk about, being a person who doesn't like to cook and then being in a marriage long term with somebody who will get in the kitchen and go off.
Absolutely. So, you know, it's funny. So Cal and I have been together. We've been married 18 years. This technically July 31st, made 18 years, but together for 28 years total. And the first 7 years of our being together, we lived together. We lived in the same house. And what happened, Cal worked in Westchester and I worked in the city. So he would naturally get home first because we lived in Mount Vernon. And so that was really how him cooking started, because he was getting home first. And I worked still in like Midtown Manhattan. So this was pre 9/11 and everything. So you was in the office every day, 5 days a week. And what I found, you know, Cal's roots, his mother is from West Virginia. Both his parents are actually from West Virginia, the family he grew up with. And he had a mother that threw down all the time. So he had it in him for sure. Watched it, church family or whatever. And, you know, he would cook Sunday dinner, and it just started, you know, him coming home and cooking every day. And it was like, okay, fine. And he liked it. And that's the difference. For me, I cook because if we don't eat, we die. He cooks because he certainly enjoys it. He enjoys experimenting. He watches all kinds of stuff on YouTube. And even, again, prior to like the explosion of social media, we had cookbooks. I know for a fact that I have cookbooks and like cooking magazines in the server upstairs in my dining room. If you go in that bottom drawer, there are a ton of things, recipes, recipe cards, all kinds of things, because he's always going to try something. And then he's a foodie, right? So we like to snack. You know, we always call each other fat kids, all the things, because we like to, you know, eat and really enjoy it. So, you know, and as far as the traditional roles, you know, for a long time, I didn't outwardly say to people that Cal is the cook. People, if you knew, you knew. And most people in my circle knew, but I realized I wasn't ashamed. I just didn't really want it to be a topic of conversation. Now I'm like, oh no, y'all gonna get this. Y'all gonna see that this man really can throw down. And I'm glad, I'm proud. So we just naturally, I think what has worked for us is that we gravitate towards what we are good at.
Yeah.
Right? Don't get me wrong. I think if we both needed to switch roles, it would be fine. Would it taste like his? Probably not, but we would be fine. But and similarly, if I told Cal, call Chase's doctor, do all the things, it could potentially get done. You know, it could. He's really good, but I'm just better at keeping us organized as a family unit and like handling a lot of the logistics of, you know, now you have two people with full-time jobs and then, you know, consulting or side businesses, and then a kid in college and all the things and all the organizations that, you know, I'm not even gonna say Cal, but, you know, being involved in the church, all the things. I'm very good at helping with that. Just keep me fed and happy.
And we're good,
essentially. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, okay. So let's tap into that a little bit more, because you do have your hands in a lot of things. I know I mentioned in the intro, for years, I just referred to her as Tommy because she has always worked in the tech space, but like I just did not have the know-how or use like the technical associations to describe what she did. I'm like, she got a job. She's doing something. It got something to do with computers. I don't know what it is. For many years, that's what it was. But yeah, yes, as we evolved and grew, I came to learn exactly what you were doing. But talk about the kind of work you've done over your career and how that's now led you to have your own like education and consulting company specifically around AI.
Okay. So, you know, it's funny. When I went to college, I did not major in computers. IT didn't exist the way it does in 2026. I actually was a business major, more so because I needed to major in something that my mother would be accepting of. And so I picked business. So when I graduated, around the time that I graduated, I'm about to date myself, but I mean, they figured out if you're friends with someone for 45 years, clearly you're not young.
Right.
Email.
We're young?
Right. Okay. Young at heart. Email was just becoming a thing when I first graduated from college. And the big conversation was Y2K. And they were trying to get a lot of people to sign up to work as what was then referred to as programmers to help program these systems so that the world was not going to end on December 31st, 1999, as we went into the year 2000. Me having graduated and trying to figure out what's next, confused as to why I majored in business, purchased my first computer because the internet was also a new phenomenon. And I liked to tinker and go to these new web pages because back then, every commercial you saw, they were putting an internet address on the commercial because it was a very new thing. I was very interested in this. I purchased my first computer. I started tinkering and realized that perhaps this is something I would want to do. So I'm going to give you a shortened version of this. So got hired to kind of work on the Y2K stuff. That was my first time into the IT industry. I worked in finance. I worked for a company that built IPO software for different investment banks on Wall Street. From there, I left there and I went to work at the New York Mercantile Exchange, which if you know anything about the stock exchange, Mercantile is trading commodities. So that's gold, silver, pork, all those types of things. I went there as a technical trainer. So I'm still in tech, but I'm training people on how to use different software that they need for their job on the desk, on the trading desk. This is kind of where I learned about myself, that I can take a technical concept and make it very relatable for the average person. So I think that carried over years later to me being able to start to be successful in this AI space. But from finance IT, I worked in healthcare IT and then went to ed tech, which is where I got my master's at Columbia, because I went into the ed tech space and trying to help teachers integrate technology into their curriculum. I stayed there for a couple of years, and then currently I went over and now I'm in the beauty space. Now, I don't pick industries. To me, IT is industry agnostic. So if it's an IT job and I like it and it's paying well, I'm going to take it regardless of the industry. So that's how I ended up in the beauty space. So right now I've worked my way up from doing technical support to technical training to all being an analyst. And now I am the head of IT for a company called Merit Beauty, which is a global cosmetics brand. And I'm a one-woman IT department. Fun fact. My company has about 150 employees all across the country, as well as in Singapore, London, where else? Paris, Germany, Australia, and I think that's it for now. Philippines. No, I have some people in the Philippines. So, but it is just me. So I'm running the operations from soup to nuts for this global cosmetics company, which it can be, hey, I need a password reset, to the network is down in the LA office. I do it all by myself. I learned that sometimes you need AI to do some of these things. So how I got into the AI space is because I've been using AI for about 4 years. And quite honestly, it was very helpful for me being in a lot of civic organizations and community organizations. I would always be in positions where I would need to bring greetings or brainstorm and come up with ideas. And someone that ended up working with me a couple of jobs ago introduced me to ChatGPT, essentially. And it was very much helping me with writing my speeches, which is something I tell people now, like, well, our favorite president, Obama, had a speechwriter. Why not use a ghost speechwriter or something to help you? I'm not saying to write it, but to aid you. And so how I got into the business of AI is essentially last year. I have a friend who's been doing this for quite some time, and she's been very successful at it. And she, in us talking about what was next for me, as I'm in this space, but started to take a step back from some of the community organizations that I was in. I started looking into being a certified AI consultant. So I did end up becoming a certified AI consultant, but she asked me to do an AI masterclass with her. And so we planned it, but she wanted me to be in an official capacity. So I quickly did the research and got my business up and running. And I launched this year on January 1st, Stronger Systems Group. And what I did, because me always being in organizations that are mainly focused on women, specifically a sorority, I created a flagship program, Strong Her Systems, that is specifically created and designed for women to increase their AI adoption and to not be left behind in this AI and tech space. AI is the largest innovation of our lifetime. And as women who outperform men in verbal episodic activities all the time in 42 out of 45 countries, we are uniquely designed to be successful at this thing in the AI space. So why not bring this to women so that they can do better, especially women of color? So I've been doing this now for, this is what, August 23rd, 8 months. And it's going really well. I'm really excited. I still work my full-time job.
Come on now.
Thank God I have a husband that cooks and keeps me fed, because I don't know where the energy is coming from. But I'm going to continue to really cape for women in the tech space, ride for women, and really help them understand that, again, we cannot afford to be left behind in this space. Mm-hmm. So that's...
If I didn't need this mic right now, I'd drop it, because you have done... So as you just ran that down, and I mean, I was here for, all of that, but I'm like, it's something about hearing you describe it and put it together like that. It's just like, yeah, you definitely are her. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I love that. How do you think, or do you ever think, maybe the thought just is not, crossed your mind, but I know in the food industry, there's a lot of conversation around, how AI will be leveraged in food in the industry. And that's everything from an agricultural perspective to a hospitality perspective to a supply chain perspective. Is one of the industries you've not been in yet. But if you had to think about some ways that, based on your knowledge and exposure, that AI would impact the food space, is there one thing that jumps out to you?
Right now, I think for most industries, AI is always just going to help with some level of productivity. So whether that's figuring out inventory or the best ways to impact farming or, any kind of agricultural factors, especially things that are scientific, I think AI is of use in that space, just depending on how you use it. One thing I like to tell, not just women, just anyone, because like with any technical innovation, there's fear, right? Mm-hmm. Technology is fear because it's the unknown. You really don't know what you're getting on a day-to-day basis. But one thing I like to share is that AI is not going to replace you, but the person that knows how to use it might. And so I think that's pertinent in any industry that you're in, whether it's food, whether it's, healthcare, whether it's education. You always need a human in the loop, because humans provide judgment that AI can't. AI is simply a prediction engine. It's not designed to think. It's designed to be fluent, not accurate. So you're always going to need a human in the loop to help with it, for AI to help enhance a decision or to enhance a creation, but never to replace that creation. Because even if, we've now seen a ton of AI created flyers, etc., but you might see a flyer where a person has 3 hands. So you actually need, isn't this the truth? You need that person to go back in to say, hey, remove
too many.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So similarly to any kind of, creative outlet or industry, I think the same way in food, it's always going to help enhance. It's always going to make things faster, quicker. I wouldn't necessarily say better. I think enhancement doesn't mean taking over, making it better, but definitely just enhancing and, helping you think through things in a better way sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The how, not the what.
Correct.
Got it. I'm down for that. It's a big conversation in the media space, particularly in food journalism, and I understand, right? Food journalism, storytelling is informed by human perspective.
Right.
And so, as much as I use AI for the production of this podcast is that once, I've identified an interview subject, I want to research them. And one thing that's helpful to me, especially if it's a brand or a company, is like, I need to know if you in litigation, if you building on indigenous land, or, y'all been crime mobbing it up. Like, I need to know these things.
Right.
And so I have a prompt where, it essentially will deliver me a rundown or dossier of, somebody's background. And that just gives me like a succinct place to start doing research versus having to go and look for all these things. It'll pull from me like any key interviews they've done or articles that they've, have written about them in the last, 10 to 15 years so that I have a tight set of information to then start independently researching and extracting what I think I want to talk to them about.
Right. And so similarly, like we talked a little bit about, you said the food space and, media, but all of that is a business. And every business needs stronger systems, no pun intended, or more accurate systems. And you can use it, for that. Because I find, a lot of the largest conglomerates have the smallest behind the scenes systems that a lot of times can be antiquated. And those are things that AI can help you, whether it's reading a contract, whether it's creating a proposal, whether it's your whole billing system. All of those things can be enhanced with AI. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell people, well, we'll get to that because I want people to know where they can find out more about the resources available through Stronger Systems. But I think I'm going to wrap us up with like some fun food memories.
Okay.
I'm going to throw out 5.
Okay.
And if you got 5, let's hear them. I'm going to start number 1. Again, we talked about this week and it came up, but growing up, your dad lived in Brooklyn. We lived in the Bronx. And we would take the train every so often all the way down to Brooklyn. We would meet him in the train station. I remember
on
we
Fulton
had to
Street.
on Fulton Street. We had to come off of the downtown side, go underneath, and come back up on the uptown side because we were going to turn right back around and go back to the Bronx. And he would meet you there, and he would be there to give you money. Like we would go to get money, but he worked at the hospital, and the hospital would have all those little travel size snacks. And he would always, not only would he have like little Oreos and snacks and things for us, but he would give you money, and he would always slide me a couple of dollars. And then like this, riding from the Bronx to Brooklyn, there was a time investment, but when she was like, I'm going to meet my father, I was like, oh, I'm going. Because I always know there was like some snacks and a little bit of cash at the end of it.
Yes.
So that definitely was one for me. We mentioned the Baychester Diner, which as we got older, like late teens and certainly early adulthood, the sessions that we would sit in there and have to debrief about life and boyfriends and whatever, what have you. We both loved the lobster
bisque soup. That's when we first started having lobster bisque soup.
Yes. We would sit in that diner. Diners were 24 hours. And, we would be sitting up in there at all hours of the night, debriefing. And then I'll say one other for me, and this, you're going to laugh.
Oh, Lord.
Rand used to always have money. I don't know where the money was. Well, look, sometimes it's come from her dad, but Rand used to always have money, and I would never have money. This was not until I was like 16 when I was getting a job and would have money all the time. She used to have a paper route in the building. Like, you always have money. And I remember we went to Queen's Day. It was Queen's Day was something where we went all the way to, was it Kew Gardens?
It was
that park.
No, it wasn't Paisley Palm Park. Yeah, Queens. It was Paisley Park.
And of course, which was standard for me in those days, I'm way the hell out in Queens without 2 nickels literally to rub together. So that means you ain't eating, you ain't buying no food, you just here. And Rand had money. And I know she used to be sick of me being like, can I get some of the food? But I didn't have money to get my own. And I just remember us being out there and me begging her for her fruit salad that day. Remember that? She peeled that slice of kiwi off the top. It was like, here you go, girl. Be gone.
It makes me sound like such a horrible friend.
No, it makes me sound like a broke begging friend who had no business being in Queens without no damn money.
We had a lot of things that we did that we had no business doing. But
the list.
Um, I remember us being younger. We joked about this the other day about Mr. Softy. And, you know, it's something now that if we wanted ice cream, you just get it. But the excitement around Mr. Softy was that even though you're saying I had money, when we were younger, I didn't have it that way. So like we would plan, he's coming today. We knew like it was an event. Like, look, don't go upstairs because as soon as you hear that, now we lived in a building and neither one of us lived on the first floor. So you had to get the elevator and come back down. So Mr. Softy was definitely something that we invested in. Also, you loved Choco Dials.
I did.
You loved Choco Dials. I did not like those things, but you loved those things.
That was so good.
I'm trying to think. It was something else that definitely the Choco Dials and definitely the Mr. Softy. You just clowned me recently about my love for peppermint patties, but I love chocolate mint.
did.
I always will.
You know, while you think of one other thing, can I just tell you, shout out to, what is the coffee shop in Oakland? The vegan coffee shop in Oakland. It's on the corner of, I want to say 17th and Franklin. I could see it so clearly in my mind. Oh, Timeless. That's it. Timeless. It's a vegan coffee shop that has pastries, but do you know, somebody put this on my radar. Somebody from the K in the Bay community put this on my radar, and I was like, they don't know my past. They just set me up. They make a chocodile. And so I went and drove my happy ass down to Timeless, and it is one of my favorite desserts.
Really?
It's so chocolatey and decadent. It's all the things I loved about chocodiles back in the day.
Wow.
But it's really good. It's such a throwback.
Wow.
Such
You
a
know what
throwback.
else you used to like?
What?
Those things from Wendy's, Frosties.
Yes.
Yeah, I never loved those because I need something in the Frosties. So like when they would come out with the McFlurries, with the cook, I was more of that person. I couldn't just do ice cream like that, as evidenced by us having ice cream in Martha's Vineyard yesterday.
Everybody got taken down.
Yes. But that was another thing that I always remembered that you loved. Those Frosties, Wendy's Frosties.
This is dope. I really have enjoyed like I'll look back at the things I'm doing now and the things you're doing now, you know, but looking back at kind of the underpinnings that we didn't recognize at the time, but that were all the developmental steps leading us to where we are now. I'm super proud of all the things that you are actively accomplishing.
Yeah, me too. I'm so proud of you. You know, like I said, I take pride in giggling and saying, oh, I knew this from when she was 11 years old. She put this out there. She claimed it from when we were kids. So none of this is a surprise. While it is, yes, definitely wasn't God's plan for you, none of this is a surprise. Because I always tell everyone, Kahja's been who she's been since we were kids. She's just taller, older, and has more money now.
I've been running the streets for years.
Literally been the same person.
Just, you know.
So, and that makes it easy because you've literally been the same person.
I have.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Tell people where they can find out more about Stronger Systems.
Sure. So you can follow me on Instagram at Stronger Systems LLC. That is just spelled the regular way. STRONGER Systems, SYSTEMS, and then LLC. Stronger Systems LLC on Instagram. Also, you can go to my website, which is just strongersystemsgroup.com. And you can follow me on LinkedIn at Randi N. Gray, N for Nicole, right on LinkedIn. And, you know, send me a request and we can connect.
Okay. Don't get left behind, y'all.
Yes.
I gotta come back here and take one of the classes.
Well, listen, like I always tell everyone that says this, I am really trying to work on something virtually, but thankfully the work has been coming in, so it's been keeping me busy. But one thing I always say, if you're in an area and you can get about 20 women together that are serious about really wanting to learn AI, I will come to you. We can set up an Eventbrite link. The women will pay for the class. As long as you can get me the space, I will come and I will conduct a class for the women. For my class here in New York is typically on a Saturday from 10 to about 4 p.m. They get breakfast and lunch with their registration fee. They get a workbook, and then they get virtual resources that they have for the rest of their time. So it's definitely worth it. So if you can get 20 to 25 women together in a room, in a space that has Wi-Fi and a place for me to display, because I do a presentation and we go through hands-on activities, I am more than willing to travel.
Yeah, because
I just came from LA.
to
Yeah,
lots of places.
absolutely. I just came from LA doing it. Yep.
Okay, well, y'all heard it. Get your peoples together, and if you're in the Bay Area, getting your peoples together. She said 20, but I'm telling you 19 because I'm gonna be 20. I haven't gotten to take one of the classes yet, and despite working for a large tech company, I'm probably the least technologically inclined person and I'm sure I'm only using Chat GPT and AI to an nth of what I could be. My Chat GPT called me auntie the other day.
Well,
and
give
so I'm just
yourself some
like,
credit
girl.
because I want your listeners to know that I've watched you now use AI for the last week, and I'm impressed. You are actually using it, to your advantage to really help you out, and so I was really proud of you for that. So give yourself some credit.
Thank you. Me and Chatisha are becoming really good friends, and she knows a lot about me, and we talk, and she makes jokes about me, but I get it done. And I like that I'm getting more and more comfortable using the resource for the things that I'm doing.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep my eye on you and keep supporting you through it. And so, like I said, I'm more than willing to travel. So.
All right, y'all. If you want to keep up with me in between episodes, you can find me at kayinthebay.com or on Instagram at heykayinthebay. That has been this week's episode of the As Told by podcast from Westchester County with my bestie, Rand. I will see y'all soon on a new episode. Bye.